Thank you, Wandy, and thanks, Kyla and Julia. Great presentations, great topics. It's really fantastic to see this kind of research coming out of the data that's being published regularly by USC. So first of all, my apologies, Wandy, but there has been a slight change in my presentation. I wanted to kind of give it a little bit more focus and keep it general. So the topic that you just announced has changed a little bit. My apologies, that's not your fault. But hey, it's work in progress. So I guess that's what we expect when that's the case. So hi, I'm Nichari from Financial Health Network. At Financial Health Network, our mission is to improve financial health for all. So we have been diligently tracking financial health with our U.S. Financial Health Pulse yearly survey since 2018. And this is a survey that's administered to the U.S. panel. This year, we've combined it with financial transactions of a smaller sample of U.S. panel participants, majority of which also participated in the 2020 survey, Pulse survey. This is an early look at that survey and transactional data to understand how liquidity changed for individuals who experienced a financial hardship since the pandemic took over our lives in March. So this is a brought to you by section. This research would not be possible with the support that we have received from our funders, Flourish, MetLife Foundation, AARP, and also our great research partners, USC Caesar, and also PLAD. So thank you, everyone. Over 6,000 US panelists responded to our most recent Pulse survey that was fielded at the end of July. Over 700 of survey participants also had a linked financial account through the OSFin platform. And a little over 400 of them linked an active checking account. And I'll get to how we define active momentarily. Data was collected leveraging Plaid's API, which allows us to see both the current account activity on accounts and activity prior to the date the accounts were linked. And of course, while all of this was done, we took all the precautions to keep consumer data secure. We consider a linked checking account active if we could observe transactions at the beginning of this year, so January 1st, and also at the end of the analysis period on September 30th. And if we could observe transactions at least 80% of the time in this time frame. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that transaction needs to happen in these accounts at least 80% of the days, but rather that the account link was current, so we could see whether transactions are occurring or not. And also, we considered accounts in which there's at least one transaction per month during the analysis period, to avoid including accounts that people might have linked that are dormant, or perhaps they're not using it at all. To get a better picture of their liquidity, we also included other liquid accounts that people might have linked, such as savings accounts, prepaid accounts, money market, and cash management accounts. So this is interesting because when I decided to go in this direction for this research, I didn't know a lot about the other topics presented in the session. So I'm surprised to see actually there's a good overlap here, because we asked 4 survey questions in our Pulse survey about experiencing financial hardship. One of the questions is about having food security. Not being able to, another one is not being able to pay for rent, mortgage, and another one about not getting healthcare needed, and the last one about not taking medication as needed. So if in 2020, those who experience at least one of these hardships since March tend to be lower income, tend to be more in the 36 to 49 age range, and more likely to be Black or Latinx respondents relative to people who did not experience any of these hardships since March. That he did not observe any differences across gender. All right, so let's get into the transaction data here. When we look at the average balance in liquid accounts over a 30-day window on each day, and we take the medians on each day after that, we observe a wide pre-pandemic gap in liquidity between the people who experienced a hardship and those who did not. That gap has widened in current dollars by the end of September. Balances increased for both groups until the end of June, after which they started declining. Indexing the liquid account balances to March 1 values show us that those who experienced a hardship enjoyed a much faster growth in their liquidity between April and at the end of June. Given that this period largely overlaps with stimulus payments to households, expanded state unemployment benefits, and the fact that those experiencing hardship are more likely to be lower income, we expect to see this larger growth for the group that experienced hardship because they're lower income and dollar amounts will contribute more to already low balances. However, this large growth in liquidity for those in hardship was entirely temporary, and their liquidity declined considerably since the end of June. And they finished this period by about 20% increase in their liquidity, which is about the same percentage increase for those who were not in hardship. To add more color to this picture, we looked at applying for and receiving unemployment benefits across experiencing hardship. We have two questions that kind of reveal whether someone applied for an unemployment benefit and whether they received it. And quite naturally, a larger percentage of those in hardship applied for and received benefits, and a larger percentage of those not in hardship did not apply for it. Let's look at how this correlation between hardship and receiving unemployment benefits manifests itself in liquid account balances. So we have four groups here. I've split no hardship and hardship groups into two further groups: did not apply for unemployment benefit and received unemployment benefit. It looks like receiving benefits provided a liquidity cushion for both the people in hardship and not in hardship. Those who were in hardship but did not, or perhaps could not apply for unemployment benefits because they didn't lose their jobs, were worse off in terms of liquidity by September relative to March. We see the differences in liquidity growth clearly when we index balance to March 1st. By September 30th, liquidity was twice as much as March 1 level for those who received unemployment benefits, regardless of whether they experienced a hardship or not. Those who did not have hardship and did not apply for benefits were at a roughly same spot in terms of liquidity by the end of September compared to March 1. However, those who had hardship and did not apply for benefits were at a worse spot by the end of September. Now, in our quest to better understand the changes in liquidity during the pandemic, this barely scratches the surface, obviously, but provides important initial insights into what might be driving the change. For us, the next steps are considering other economic, demographic, and personal factors that are likely to drive these changes that we are seeing in liquidity. And as we move towards the end of the year, expanding the time frame to see how the lack of a political resolution that might continue to be the case is manifesting, a political resolution to help the economy, obviously, and how that's manifesting itself in these trends. So those are the two immediate steps for us going forward. Before we move into the question and answer section, I'd like to point out that you can download all our survey data from our website as well as USC's platform. We are also working closely with USC Caesar to try to make our transactional data available to researchers soon. So for any questions, I'll be all ears now, or you can reach out to me at this email address.